Welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. This bulletin is live from our studio here at Adisanwi Kanda in Accra and also live around the world on 3news.com. Coming up this evening, Parliament's Minority Caucus demand the head of the Attorney General, Dominic Ayine, over what they say are unauthorized withdrawals from the contingency fund resulting from his incompetence. We'll interrogate this subject in detail in a moment. Also coming up, we'll also take you to the western region town of Sayerano, where tensions are flaring up over the death of 3 unarmed persons in a police shootout case. And before the bulletin ends, we have one more story, which is that there is intense public debate over the disqualification of applicants into the security services for testing positive for the HIV. Tonight we ask, should an applicant be disqualified based on their HIV status? These and many more coming up for the next 1 hour, including business and sports. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Nura Mohammed joins me in studio to give us the news summaries. Hello, Nura.
Hello, Martin. We're starting off the summaries with the story. Now, the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, has warned prospective students, parents, and guardians against enrolling in several learning centers operated by public universities that have not been accredited by the Commission. In a public notice issued on Wednesday, July 8, 2026, GTEC listed 15 learning centers and campuses affiliated with public universities that it said were operating without accreditation. The affected centers include the University of Ghana Learning Centers in Kofrijua, Cape Coast, Tamale, Ho Tito, Wa, Bogatanga, and Sonyani. Also listed are the University of Education Winneba Learning Centers at Jai University College in Accra and St. Theresa's College in Anaji, Takrady, and others. Also in the summaries, the minority in Parliament is demanding the immediate resignation or dismissal of the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayine, accusing him of incompetence over the withdrawal of 350 million Ghana cedis from the contingency fund to support victims of recent floods. The caucus claims that the disbursement may have violated a court order and provisions of Ghana's public financial management laws because the contingency fund was under attachment at the time the funds were released. Lawyer for Frederick Kumi, popularly known as Abu Trika, has disclosed that his client has been rushed to the police hospital while raising fresh concerns over his detention and the inability of his legal team to gain access to him. In a post shared on X on Wednesday, July 8, private legal practitioner Oliver Barker-Vomawa said he had received information that Abu Trika had been taken to the police hospital. Mr. Barker-Vomawa said it has been more than a week since lawyers representing Abu Trika were allowed to meet with their client despite repeated requests. That's it for the news summaries. Over to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Nura, for the summaries. Let's settle for the details of our stories now. And we're starting from the conversations that happened a few days ago in the Seshi area of the country, where we are told that 2 police posts in the Dwaboso district in the Western North region have been destroyed by unidentified persons following the recent police shooting incident at Seshi, Sayerano, that claimed 3 lives. The affected facilities are the Bechema Barrier Police Post and the Asempaneye Police Post. The destruction is believed to have occurred amid heightened tensions following the fatal shooting. The police have interdicted 8 officers in connection with the shooting as investigations continue into the incident that has left the community in mourning. The Dwaboso District Chief Executive, Alexander Eduquest, visited the bereaved families and injured victims and has been interacting with them. What we also do know is that he has given them the assurance that investigations will certainly commence into the development and get to the bottom of what exactly must have led to these current challenges, where 3 people have lost their lives as a result of some confrontation that happened between the citizens within the residents within the area and the police officers, leading to a shootout. And earlier today, one more person, we are told, died, suspected to have died from his gunshot wounds he sustained from yesterday. As of the time the incident happened yesterday, 2 people lost their lives, and today's death makes it 3. And so the DC has visited the area, is trying to get to the bottom of this, and has been speaking.
Because say unia enyare na wapia babontin na obeti ase ya shooting dey we sofo na ye poku kura wa ya bekasa nti kasa ni bi wo ha justifiable say e wo say kasa ba ne mo wanu nti na ya ba na ye no medi nkomo kaka ko sise asumje be ba na ya maba mbofo ne kwan amoma be investigation na me de hia me pa ne asem no mu nokore no sia obi e kan de obi ade ye de but asem no nokore na nkasa so. So you heard
the DCE who has been talking about the fact that he appreciates the concerns being raised by the citizens, but is urging calm as investigations commence, and asking them as well. He appreciates the fact that even if you were the Pope, and those were his words, even if you were the Pope and a relative of yours is killed in the manner that happened, you definitely would have some reservations. So he accepts that the people are angry following their incident, but is urging calm for them to be able to allow the state authorities to investigate the matter. Let's go to the phone lines now. Alexander Edu-Quist is the District Chief Executive for Dwaboso. He's joined us for a quick conversation. Mr. Edu-Quist, good evening. Thank you for your time. Hello, sir.
Yes, boss.
Good. Thank you for joining us. First of all, can you give us an idea what the situation is like? Is there calm in the area?
Yeah, good evening, my brother and your listeners. There is calm prevailing as we speak at Sairano, town, the Gaboso district. I know since yesterday, this story has been running through the media. And this morning, myself and my team from this assembly, we went to the community, try as much as possible to calm tensions and to give them assurance that we'll make sure the matter will not be business as usual. Wherever we need to go to make sure justice prevails, we will do that. And as we speak, I just left the community about 30 minutes ago. In the morning, we started visiting the people affected. We went to their houses individually, commensurate with their families. And apart from that, we had a meeting with the chiefs and elders at the community, trying to also give them what government is doing and the assurance that they should let calm prevail so that our security, as far as this is concerned, can come back so that we will not experience this. And in fact, when we went, the community people also gave us their support, and we thank them for that. In fact, it was even very difficult for any security person to enter the community. But after the engagement, we all agreed that on Friday, I should lead the security people to come so that we can visit the crime scene, so that the investigation can commence, because without visiting the scene, it will be very difficult for the police service to start whatever investigation that needs to be conducted.
Right, but when you got there, what were you told, or in fact, what got you to decide to go to that community? What information did you get before going there?
In fact, the information gathered for both sides. The police initially gave us a rundown that as a normal routine duty, the regional police patrol had an information that some people are trading in illicit drug in the community. So they were just moving around to find out if the information they've had is correct. But when they went to the community, according to the citizens of the community, what they said was that they visited one shop, called a guy, searched his shop, searched his bag. They didn't find anything. But later they realized that the police were beating the guy. That is what caused the whole matter. So they rushed in there, tried to save the guy. In an attempt to save the guy, the police people were trying to also do their work. And that resulted in those gunshots that has led to the issues we are talking about today. So that is exactly the information on the ground. But if you also listen to the side of the community people, they will tell you that there's no such thing happening there. And moreover, some of them said they even approached the police people, try to intervene so that at least they can have a word with them, but they did not listen to them. When they realized that the community people were getting closer, they started shooting the gun. When I visited the city today, my brother, normally we hear the police saying that we are firing warning shots. Warning shots, as we know, normally, though we are not the security people, but it is always fired in the air.
Right.
But this one, you can see that you can find bullets in front of shops, even on the tar road. You can see some of the bullets that hit the road, that got the road even broken.
Wow.
So we realized that it was not just a gunshot, it was targeted on individuals. It's an unfortunate incident, but as we speak, since the police people interdicted the 8 people, we have given that information to the community. That has brought the tension down as we speak. And with the involvement of the other stakeholders in the community, we are trying so hard that the matter will not escalate. But I'm happy to say that at least they have given us their word and they are complying. Just this morning, those who were shot, 2 died on the spot. 3 of them were hospitalized yesterday. 1 died this morning, who is a Muslim. So we had to intervene to make sure that the police will be there for the needed postmortem will be done. You know, the Muslim people, it will be difficult for them to keep the body in the morgue. So we have done all this arrangement for them, and now they have buried the man at around 4 o'clock. So that is the information for now.
So 2 more questions, then you can take leave of us. You say calm has returned to the area, and based on the information you heard that got you to go there, the police said they were investigating or trying to get to the bottom of some drug deals, and it led to a confrontation and then shootout. Was it a shootout between the people and the police, or it was just the police that was doing the shooting?
But all the shootings were done by the police. There was no retaliation as far as guns are concerned from the community people.
And on the back of that, based on information, 8 police officers are currently have been interdicted as we speak.
Yes, that's the information we have from the Ghana Police Service.
Okay. We hope that, like you're saying, calm will stay, then the investigations can at least get to find out what exactly happened. But thank you for your time and the explanation you've given us this evening.
Most grateful.
Right, and you just had a very surprising report that we are getting from the DCE for the Dwaboso district. That is Alexander Edu-Quest, who was giving us first-hand information as regards what he was told and what he saw when he got to the community. Calm, he says, has returned, but there is still some tension, for which reason they are asking the citizens in that area to hold their peace as state agencies come in to investigate. Joining us also on the line now is Adama Sadat, who is the chief imam of Sairano, where the incident happened. He also happens to be a relative of one of the deceased who passed away as a result of the shooting. Mr. Sadat, good evening. Thank you for your time. Hello, Mr. Sadat.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Sadat, me pacho sa oti me nka baby a won dede wo ho enti se nka wetimi atwe ho kakra ko baby a ye betimi ate wo ne a ebebo ayen bebre. We need to get back to Mr. Sadat, who is the chief imam for the Sairano area, also a relative of one of the 3 people who died as a result of sustaining gunshot wounds. So 2 people died on the spot, as the DCE told us. 1 person died earlier today following the injuries they sustained from the gunshots. So it's very surprising that, if the information the DCE gave us is anything to go by, he says the police said they had information that some drug deals were being done in the area. They go there, and just by going to find out or investigate whether or not drug deals are ongoing, the issue just gets out of hand. Shooting happens. 2 people die on the spot. The whole community is thrown into chaos, and we are told that 1 more person died earlier today. 8 police officers have been interdicted. Investigations are about to commence or have commenced within the Ghana Police Service in the Western North region. I believe so. Yeah, the Western North region. And then also the DC has confirmed to us that they are trying to get the necessary state agencies to take up the matter and investigate, so at least they can get to the bottom of this shocking and bizarre incident that has led to 3 people losing their lives. So if it were that just investigations, how is it that shooting happened? How is it that people will lose their lives as a result of an issue between police officers who have intelligence and are going to investigate on this? Let's get some more perspectives on this. And Adib Sani, security consultant, Jatike consult. I hope I got the name right. Mr. Sani, thank you for your time. Good evening.
And thank you for having me, Martin.
Right. What do you make of this story? And I'm sure you've been following. We just spoke to the DC. He confirmed to us that there was a report that some drug deals was happening in the Sariano area. They go there to try and make arrests if possible. Then the issue just gets out of hand. Shooting happens. 2 people die on the spot. A 3rd dies today. And the whole situation seems quite shocking. As an analyst from the security perspective, what do you make of this?
Well, thank you for having me, Martin. I've been following the situation. In fact, I've spoken with people on the ground just to get to understand what really happened. I have some preliminary information, but I'm waiting to confirm it before putting it out there. But surely an incident like that happened. In an attempt to arrest the suspect, I think the community said no, it was not going to happen, and in the ensuing confrontation, shots were fired. But it raises some legitimate issues. I mean, the operational preparedness of these officers and whether they adhere to the UN basic, standards operating procedure of making an arrest or police use of force. Because it's quite straightforward. I mean, before you use deadly force, you should have, assessed the situation and ensured it's proportionate. And before you use deadly force, you should have used less deadlier forces. Then at the point you have no option. Then lastly, it should be very necessary. So in many cases, you try to douse the flame, the tension, and if it is not working out, then you might be forced to gravitate towards deadlier force, depending on the situation at hand. Then it also raises the issue of risks involved in such operations. Because you are going for a drug suspect, it's a high-valued target. And in some cases, wherever you see drugs, there are guns. And wherever you see guns, there are drugs. So you need to prepare and have, perhaps on standby a team that you can call on if you feel overwhelmed. And in dealing with such a target, you need to be circumspect. And time is of the essence, okay? So sometimes what I prescribe is you hit the person when that element of surprise is important and when the person is most vulnerable. For example, when the person is on the move or when the person is alone, based on intelligence around you, be able to tell the situation in which the person is. Then you can do it clinically without even anyone noticing.
Right.
But when you don't take into cognizance some of these and you go in, the community might resist, and that is exactly what occurred, unfortunately.
Kindly hold the line for me. We have been joined also by the chief imam of the area. We are told that one of the people who died is a relative of his. Mr. Adama Sadat, good evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Okay, wait there. And listeners, kindly pardon us. He speaks the local language more fluently, so we want to do that, and then I'll give a brief explanation in English. Mr. Sadat, yatise enra wonchu bi si wo mukro mu ho ama enipa miensa ahwere omo nkwa. Yatise baako wu enne. Enipa miensa na ewu no baako ye wabusuani. Obetimi ama ya hu die si ye.
Hello, and Madam was at your foina, Majuma foina, Sani Kuski, and Ranopa, they 9 o'clock. I just, your phone, you cook for more. A tea and say, police for being more around, or mobile the Chiboidi. Now, mobile, you know, almost to say, bueno, would be Nubono Hoja, until money boy, maintaining one Simoana, as a suspect is the boy no be on the bag, boy no say what need to move your boy no to boy no swamp no to move na ma e ma no tie mu say memamla ti yes and the boy na emle go me to mo kan to boy say yes dey bi o mo tie ase say o mo di boy ni to ka mu sa and the more what tie dey ayi boy na twi kan police force say o mo mpene ho na mo sa say e ma won so to mo mo kan the boy so what to belia. But maintaining I was Irano, or also, or ye belly and class police for no more deck and go. So, Muko now, no more to do. The money, or that now in the good years, I and Newa, Mirano, Odimiga, or stores or one or pay. In the suit is now Muko now, who should to Nana, a can was stored anymore. And say, Otishi, to a more area now, or more often than a good rasa. And now my Tiana, we shall phone on Mutini China confirm what I say, why media. And also, you did see Eba Hama yesterday and money. Omocrano, Peneto, Mudimun, my young boy post Moti, Numunadi Ade, Cabibre, the Amaya, more some police for any side, Jenna, as say, Omoji is cancer on the Munamai. This is by an Odi and Nimqua Science. Commander or boy Emma Yasaka Moon. Bear 40 minutes time near Yapen or Crabia, a fina Yadayani, Yabuffy, a baby, Shia, Bushan, car, or more Serrano any kuna for Malaysia. Near Udire. Tomorrow be summer, they could see no.
Where they may once inform you, no, maybe Sana, Yadi and Common baby. Yes, sir. Ain't it a brandy and now or more penachino? A Juma Ben and now, because you see a police information or yet or torn rule, and like or drug deals. Sana no or chromo, San and Crophone.
Medasi, I want to drink in our tongue. In the store, what the himself drink, and all I am about money down. The Juma, you need to Yano or beer drink, Nazakra or Yano who see you cry. 5-star multi-clute no money, minerals na, and also I am over money count. Until the minimum fan won't say, oh dear, no.
Okay. And say, I know, a Diana, I am when it does so DC now, but how said they are all chair, and a Diana more here, no more say, a buying, and I say, in Remua and penny for Babayano, a Diana more here, no more some better.
So, the DC was our court Jaboto, Lemon Crew, Mantia, Ubia, they were 7 to call ye, dear, Ubia, one more 15 rabbits, and that's Amadiatin. And Yantiasi say police for Mona or boy and Mobile, or Mad Danny, say Crono or Mopay boy, who put a weedy and or Muque. Ye Nimo, said Dubonena or Tonwa, Monchinunque. Now, ya, ye Jinajan and Chen. Nti yede yenyase peprio enye adwuma na yehu police kwa odini de suma omo se adwuma ma na kireta o ma suma omo to medisa adwuma na yehu se aban na omo odi na yɛhunu sɛ yɛakye wɔ mo na mmara bi a ɛsɛ ɛdi wɔ mo no ɛne wɔ mo ni ɛna sɛsi yɛn nso mmaa mmienu ne nkwadaa a wɔagya wɔ mo yɛ a yɛwɔ ha ekuafo nko a wo yɛnhu kwan a yɛde wɔ mo bɛfa so yɛnhu kwan a yɛde mmaa wei ɛbɛfa so.
All right.
Mr. Sadat.
Where Yama shedding your dance in Susa Wajabre and a ding como enumerate. Right. And that is Adama Sadat, who is the chief imam of the area. Also, one of the deceased persons, we are told, is a relative of his. So, like you, just a brief narration of what he said. And Mr. Adib Sani is still with us. So, a brief narration of what he said. They were there. They heard the police had come to arrest a particular man because they said he was dealing in drugs. When they tried to arrest him, there was some resistance by the man. It led to confrontation. The police officers beat up this man, forcing the women in the area to start shouting for men to come out to assist the man. They placed him in a pickup van, and then when the men arrived, they resisted that they take him away, forcing the police to start shooting. Some of the men went to block the road, set up a barrier to block the police from driving out of the community. And then it intensified the confrontation. A man sat in his shop, was a victim, or became a victim of the shootout. He was the one that was pronounced dead today. He says that they are hoping that investigations will get to the bottom of what happened, and then the youth in the area, they can get them jobs, etc. There are widows that have come about as a result of the incident. So that's his narration briefly. We still have Mr. Adib Sani with us. Mr. Sani, so that's from the perspective of the chief imam, who tells us that they were also equally shocked, like many of us are hearing. The high-handedness he's alluding to from the police officers. What do you make of that?
The police has no place whatsoever to assault in an attempt to arrest a suspect. I mean, they can use force to subdue him. But if what the man is saying is anything to go by, it is absolutely wrong. On the other hand, you can never know what anyone is up to. People have dirty little secrets. I remember some time ago, I investigated a mobile phone stealing syndicate that was operating from a pharmacy at Kaswa. Okay, so you cannot, based on the person's outlook, the person's ways, to know whether he is into drugs or not. I'm not in any way suggesting he's into drugs, but it's mindful. We should be careful that we don't judge people based on what we see from the externals. Then, the people too have no right whatsoever to prevent the police from discharging their duties. That is obstruction of justice, and that is illegal under the law, and you can be taken to task for that, okay? And so there are so many twists and turns to this issue. That is why I'm particularly excited, and I wish to congratulate the IGP for taking steps to interdict these individuals. But it doesn't mean they are guilty. It's just a way of telling them to step aside whilst investigations continue so you don't interfere, and hopefully would get to the bottom of it. And with the high-handedness part, I wouldn't be able to say, because I wouldn't know what the people did. Were they hurling stones at them? Were they holding guns? Because like I indicated, before police uses deadly force, it has to be necessary, and it has to be proportionate to the threat that they are being confronted with. And it's also important for them not to exaggerate that threat after an assessment. Sometimes people are just too trigger happy, even civilians. You see them, little traffic disagreements, he comes out with a gun. That is not how it's supposed to be. You are supposed to exercise a great deal of discretion so far as the use of force is concerned.
Right. Mr. Sani, thank you so much for these thoughts you've shared on the subject. We also want you to hold on briefly and talk to us about the Ministry of Interior's recent reversal of a decision they made a few weeks ago, which was that anybody that had a gun, licensed or not, if you do not come for them to re-register you, then it means that the permit you have has expired pronto. But today that decision has been reversed and some window has, some extension has been given. How do you analyze all of this? And was the earlier decision necessary in the first place?
Not at all. I think the minister didn't consult. The minister works with technocrats, okay, cut across. And so I would expect that before such a decision is made, he should speak with the right people and get the right counsel. There are so many issues wrong with that decision in the first place, legally, socially, security-wise, etc. The laws governing guns in Ghana is the 1972 Arms and Ammunition Act, NRCD 9, okay? And there's nowhere in Ghana's law that says that you should know how to fire before you own a gun. Even though it's legitimate, I support it 100% because people have guns without really knowing the rules. I mean, for example, you are always supposed to think that the gun is chambered until you prove otherwise. Okay, you are not supposed to point a gun at anyone, even if it is empty and all that. People don't know it, so people need to learn. Okay, but it has to be done right. There's no public education whatsoever. Before you enforce, you need to educate. But you don't enforce before you educate. Besides, every gun license in Ghana expires on the 31st of December at 11:59 p.m. So I would have thought that whatever changes it is, take your time, engage the stakeholders, then we can use the next window to do it. However, still, it is illegal. We have a new bill, and I was part and parcel of those who developed it. If we pass that bill into law, trust me, Martin, it's going to solve 90% of the gun-related issues we have in this country. And it is also important to understand that the biggest threat to our security so far as gun violence is concerned in Ghana, it's got to do with the illegal guns. If I get a gun and I want to use it to rob, do you think I would go and register it? So the focus should be on the illegal ones, the G3 rifles, the AK-47s, the AR-15s that is used to wreak havoc in Boku, Atalavanyo, and Konya, and so many other places. Even though I do agree that, yes, we have some gaps so far as our licensing regime is concerned in Ghana, but it has to be done right.
Certainly so. Thank you for your time and thoughts this evening.
My pleasure.
And you have the Executive Director of JTK Center for Human Security and Peace Building, Adib Sani, there. And clearly, the concerns being raised are varied, and many of you are also sharing yours with us on our social media platforms. Facebook, where this bulletin is streaming, on YouTube as well. Do send us your messages if you feel strongly about any of the subjects we have treated so far. And some of you have also said that you did not hear exactly what the Interior Minister Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak said. So let's listen exactly to him regarding this reversal of the gun amnesty that, according to them, had expired but has been extended.
My license will expire on 31st of December 2026.
Yes.
Are you saying that I do not need to re-register again and that license is legitimate till 31st of December?
We are saying that yes, and you receive a message from the CID to that effect. Because initially we sent a message, and then we had this flood that has affected 7 regions. We are rational human beings. People are going through a lot of challenges and trauma. Based on what the data that we have, well over 100,000 people are having these challenges. And if you look at the areas that they have, these are people that have gone through all this trauma. It will not be fair to be adding to their challenges the issue of registration. So I think it is yesterday we said that the CID send messages to all legitimate holders, permit holders. They should keep it to December. Those who are in the process will control the process by making sure that you go through the vigorous one. But those who are already holding, so now, if Chair, you have a sidearm that you have registered and you're given a license that was supposed to expire 31st, I'm saying that you receive a message that's telling you that keep it until the 31st. Because of the challenges that we are going through, we don't want to compound the challenges of our citizens. So I'm hoping that by now people should have started receiving the messages to tell them to keep it on to the 31st. But knowing that from 31st, you go through the new arrangement where you will do the mental, the drug, and the training. But those who are in the process, we are encouraging them to go through the full process to be able to acquire, because you are already going through the process, so you go through the process.
So the new added procedure from those who already have from 1st of January, or before 1st of January, if you really want to have it from 1st of January, is to know that you will be taken through mental testing, drug testing, and training. That's what you are saying.
Right. Another thing came up, Chair, like general, 2-star general. Must you go through training again as servicemen? Must they go through training? We are looking at that because you don't want to create a system where it shows discrimination. But there can be positive discrimination, because if somebody has served in our security services, yes, after mental, you can be a former CDS.
And so you heard Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak, who is the Minister for the Interior. He says that the outright suspension of firearm license has been reviewed, and is asking that people who already have those guns at the time it expires, which is the 31st of December, before that you should come for a renewal, and the extension of the deadline has been given. So if you're minded, you have a gun, you know someone who has one and want to legitimately keep it, they have to go through the right process. You're listening to 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition. When we return, we'll be taking a look at that all-important conversation about the Ghanaian citizens who wanted to enter the security services. Many of them, we are told, after testing, were found to have HIV. The Interior Minister has been speaking on this. Questions are being raised by the Ghana AIDS Commission. We'll delve into it right after this.
The Electoral Commission has reiterated its commitment to organizing free and fair elections this December.
How's your week treating you? I'm here to serve you great music tidbits for your at-work listening pleasure. Rastafari, Rastafari, Rastafari. Our Father, who art in Zion, Kanamawe, Kanamawe, Kanamawe. Otonodo!
Come into the mountains, sight and I grandfather.
It's time to drive you home in style with great music.
92.7 is the dial. This is Hot Edition. We are shifting our way to some other stories this evening. The Ghana AIDS Commission has urged security service applicants who were disqualified from the process due to their HIV status to seek legal redress. The Interior Minister, Muntaka Mubarak, when he appeared before the Assurances Committee of Parliament, indicated that about 1,300 out of the nearly 100,000 applicants recorded reactive HIV test results during the security screening process. And upon giving out this information, it seems to have generated quite a public debate. Let's listen exactly to how the Interior Minister put it, and then we'll subject it to some interrogation.
The recent recruitment, we had, I think, about 1,300 or so that were on HIV. And then they said, can you imagine sending somebody a resource, they're telling the person that you have HIV? I mean, that's not the procedure. The person has to go through some orientation. So one of the things that we did was simply to say that when you get disqualified, you are given a contact to reach out if you are interested in knowing the details. Then when you call, then they assist you to let you know. Because interestingly, some of the things that we realize are treatable. So people need to know and then also get treatment so that subsequent recruitment they could join. So you need to know, it's of interest for every person that got disqualified to be interested in knowing what was the cause, so that at least you'll be able to, those that you can treat, I mean hepatitis B, if you have cardiac issues, maybe you've had some major surgery, drug, mental, and all that. A lot of it, some of them, I believe, you would help you be able to get out of it, especially those who had mental issues. People may not even know that they are having mental issues, but these are things that are easily treatable. So we encourage everybody to try and reach out. Don't just say because you've been discovered, you are no longer interested. Be interested, because it may be something minor, it may be something major, whichever it is. If you get to know, it will be of great interest to them. But the reason why we didn't send the results directly was that we don't want the shock. Even based on the WHO guideline, there are certain ailments, you just don't throw it on the person's face that, oh, you have hepatitis B, you have HIV, you have that. So that was why we didn't send the results directly.
Right, so that is Muntaka Mubarak, who is the Minister for the Interior, more or less given us reasons why some people were disqualified from getting to work with the security services. Joining us on the line now is the Acting Director for Policy and Planning, John Ilyasu Mahama. He is with the Ghana AIDS Commission. Thank you very much, Mr. Ilyasu Mahama.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dartey.
Right. We have followed very closely the conversation regarding recruitment and the information the minister gave out about the HIV status of a number of the applicants. A statement from the Ghana AIDS Commission today, condemned more or less the assertion of the Interior Minister, and you attributed your condemnation to the Ghana AIDS Commission Act 2016 at 938, which talks about discrimination. First of all, talk to us about why you think the move or the decision of the Interior Ministry what contravenes this particular act of the Ghana AIDS Commission.
Okay, thank you once again. So let me start by saying that hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Okay. So the cases that were recorded, the 1,300 reactive HIV tests, as you would see in our press statement, is quite consistent with the national prevalence, because 1,300 reactive cases out of 100,000 roughly comes to about 1.3%. We know that national HIV prevalence among the adult population is 1.49%. So really, it should not be interpreted as indicating that HIV cases are on the rise. The other point related to this is that we are really not told whether these 1,300 were confirmed cases of HIV. There's a difference between the first screening turning reactive, and if you follow up, the Ghana standard, the protocol for testing is that you have to go through a 3-point algorithm. And it's only after you've gone through that three separate tests that you can confirm that the people are actually HIV positive. But as I said, if even the confirmatory tests were done, the 1.3% is still consistent with national average. But the core issue you asked, which is around the prohibition of employment, again, we don't have full details in terms of the information coming out from the minister and also from what we hear from the public regarding whether there's a blanket prohibition of employment of these 1,300 people on the mere state of on their mere HIV status alone. Because really what the Ghana AIDS Commission Act, Section 32, prohibits is using HIV status as the mere reason for not employing people.
Right.
So really the true test should be based on medical fitness, people's ability to do the work for which they are being recruited. Okay. And Ghana's law is also consistent with international policy and best practice in this area. In 2010, ILO came up with recommendation 200 on HIV and the world of work. And again, the recommendation was to be based on the medical fitness and not the mere status of a person's HIV, not a mere HIV status of the person. The additional point is that a number of countries have already shifted away from this blanket prohibition of persons living with HIV being denied recruitment into security services.
Right.
Most of these policies came into place around the 1980s and 90s, where we didn't have treatment for HIV. Just to be clear, we still do not have a cure, but we have treatment. We have the antiretroviral therapy. And with that, a lot of scientific progress has been made. And so really, we should be looking at people's medical fitness to work, because with ARVs, people can work like any other person. In fact, if they're on medication consistently, they can get to the undetectable level where they can no longer transmit it, what we call U is equals to U. So really, as I mentioned, countries are shifting, those that have such policies are shifting away and moving towards removing the blanket prohibition and now doing individual tests for medical fitness. So it should be case-by-case basis. It cannot be the case that all 1,300 will be denied just based on their mere HIV status alone.
Right. Fair point you make there, that the minister fell short of telling us whether, these 1,300, like you're indicating, he said they are reactive cases. So none is confirmed yet, and you cannot base your denial of these persons' work because of that. But the other side of the argument could also be that the minister or the recruitment process consider the rigor that goes into being in the security services, for which reason they believe or think that if you have HIV, that could be a difficulty for you in executing the job that you've applied for which reason they didn't take them in. You disagree with that point?
No, in fact, the Ghana AIDS Commission actually makes provisions for that. In fact, it recognizes that different employments may require different levels of fitness. And so it does make provisions. So really the true test should be whether these people were tested one by one and not just based on their HIV status. I mean, again, I just want to emphasize that point, that if there shouldn't be a blanket prohibition based on the sole reason that they have HIV.
Okay.
Each person has to be asked one by one to look at the person's level of medical fitness. In fact, if I read the Ghana AIDS Commission Act, if you look at the Section 32, Section 32(4), the HIV status of a person, partner, or close relative of that person shall not constitute a reason to refuse employment or terminate the employment of that person, except where an employer can prove that the requirement of the employment in question is that an employee must be in a particular state of health or medical or clinical condition. So yes, maybe the security services will require a certain level of fitness, which is why for us the emphasis really should be on the level of fitness, and that is only assessed on a case-by-case basis. So it shouldn't be a blanket
denial.
Basically, the blanket denial.
Okay.
Thank you.
We would have to leave it here for now, but certainly it's a conversation we are very interested in and we'll follow up on it. Thank you for your time this evening, Mr. Elias Mahama.
Welcome.
And he is the acting director for policy and planning at the Ghana AIDS Commission. Clearly at variance or disagreeing with the interior minister's position that some 1,300 people were not given the employment to enter the security services because the testing for HIV was reactive. And it looks as though the next big issue would be what redress can these people seek. Subsequently, we'll try and get some, legal perspectives to it and find out from this those who are, in the HR space, what kind of advice can they give us? So some labor consultants would speak to us subsequently on this particular development. This is 3FM 92.7. You're listening to Hot Edition. Time now, though, for the latest in the world of business. And Bismarck Eusa will join us in a jiffy to let us know what's happening in business. Stay with us.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck. Also coming up tonight, Professor of Economics Asiedu-Dartey projects Ghana's low interest rate environment to persist in the near term, urging banks to immediately reposition their business models for a new era. We'll bring you details of our headline and other stories shortly. Please stay. Professor of Economics Asiedu-Dartey says Ghana's banking industry should prepare for a prolonged period of low interest rates as the country's improving macroeconomic stability is expected to be sustained in the near term. According to him, stable inflation, declining treasury bill rates, and prudent fiscal management point to a continued easing of monetary conditions. Speaking at the 2026 Ghana Banking Forum organized by PwC, Professor Asiedu-Dartey said it is imperative for banks to move away from heavy reliance on interest income and adopt new strategies to remain profitable.
The information that was available to the central bank was that this macro stability against the backdrop of gold would be maintained for some time. And therefore, if a projection of inflation was going to go down, and the monetary policy rate definitely, and John said it, 1,400 basis points in a year is a sharp decline in the MPR. And of course, the idea was to fight inflation, because don't forget that if inflation is relatively very high, everything else becomes an issue. You can lend to your customers at 40%, but they are bad loans. They are not going to be able to pay that. So a low interest environment is where we should be looking at now.
And that was Professor of Economics Asiedu-Dartey projecting persistent low interest rates for the near term. Meanwhile, country senior partner of PwC Ghana, Vish Ashiagbo, says Ghana's banks must urgently transform from traditional interest income-driven institutions into digital transaction-focused financial ecosystems, warning that the ongoing decline in interest rates will compress margins and test the sector's resilience in the years ahead. He was also speaking on the sidelines of the 2026 Ghana Banking Forum organized by his outfit.
As PwC, we've identified essentially what we call archetypes, 7 or so of them, different approaches banks can use. For example, you can continue to do business as usual, but if rates are falling, what that means is that you must play on scale, right? You must be that's if you have the wherewithal, you must do more of what you're doing and play a volume game. There's other things you can do in terms of playing a funding game where you focus on, let's say, bigger corporate transactions or things like infrastructure deals. You could play other things like designing cheap products and playing to a wider market. So there's about 7 different archetypes we have come up with, which are all laid out in our presentation. Essentially what that says is that each bank needs to think about where they want to be, which segment of the market they want to play in, and then design their business model accordingly.
Vish Ashiagbo is country managing partner of PwC Ghana. And that brings us to the end of the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck. Also, for more business stories, please please check out our website. Andrew Sefa is here for sports. Please stay.
Edition on TFM 92.7. My name is Andrew Sefa Bamfo. Let's start off from the ongoing 2026 World Cup, where Zlatko Dalic has stepped down after 9 years as Croatia's head coach following their defeat against Portugal in the World Cup. The 59-year-old took charge in 2017 and guided Croatia to the final of the 2018 World Cup and third place 4 years later. Croatia exited the delayed 2020 European Championship in the last 16 and failed to reach the knockout stage of Euro 2024, although they were runners-up in the 2023 Nations League. Gonzalo Ramos scored a 94th minute winner in the first knockout game, ended their bid to reach the latter stages of a third successive World Cup. Now, still on the World Cup, the quarterfinals of the competition beckoned where he started his career. His goal served as a mere consolation for the Brazilians as he closed the chapter on his World Cup journey. Elsewhere, England's Three Lions tamed Mexico at the Azteca, with Jude Bellingham playing a starring role in a 3-2 win. Despite going down and seeing out the game with 10 men, a spirited England performance handed Mexico their first ever loss at the famous Azteca Stadium in a World Cup game as the Three Lions rode their way to victory. Portugal, on the other hand, were left to stare at themselves as substitute Mikel Merino scored a late stoppage time winner for Spain. Despite the constant probing from the Portuguese, their efforts proved futile as Ronaldo bowed out of his last World Cup with a whimper. Charles de Ketelaere inspired Belgium to a convincing 4-1 win over the United States as the Red Devils brushed aside any prima jitters to punch their tickets to the last 8 in style. Messi and Argentina produced a 15-minute turnaround to score 3 goals to topple Egypt and advance to the next stage with a 3-2 win. Despite Egypt's leading for 67 minutes, Christian Romero's 79th minute header sparked a comeback for the defending champions, who march on to face Switzerland. Switzerland wrapped up the last 16 games with a nail-biting 4-3 shootout win over Colombia after the game had traveled a mile following a goalless draw in regulation time. So that was a breakdown of how things have unfolded so far in the ongoing 2026 World Cup. Remember that the action in the quarterfinal continues on Thursday. But that's all for the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Andrew Sefa Bamfo.
And on the back of that, we bring the bulletin to an end. Thank you very much for listening. If you go to our website, 3news.com, you'll find all the stories we brought to you this evening, with many other stories making rounds in the country and around the world. My name is Martin